Apple quietly launches the Apple iPod Pro. Samsung Galaxy S11 design has finalized. Xiaomi set to release a smartphone with the biggest megapixel camera in a smartphone to date. And Huawei set to release their Huawei Nova 5T in the coming few days. And also, they received their lifeline with the US-China trade ban. All that coming up. So if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification to stay notified with the latest tech news on this channel. With that being said, I'm S11 and this is Tech Weekly. So Apple finally released their Apple iPods, and these are their first active noise cancelling AirPods, and I'm really excited. It took long enough, they could have released it a little bit earlier, but now they're finally here. So here are the specifications. Now they say that it has focus sensors now, which allows it to switch between active noise cancellation and to be able to hear people. If you don't want the noise cancellation, you can hear your surroundings, which is very exciting. And I feel like there are a lot of headphones or in-ear headphones or buds that don't have this feature, but there are also others that do. And the most unexciting part of these actual pods is the price, which I'll talk about later. Now these new AirPods come in 3 different sizes, which is small, medium and large. And what I like about it is that you can change the tip between those sizes, and really amazing. Now looking at the processor, you're looking at an H1 chip. It's the best processor for these iPods. Now I haven't tested them. I've never had the first generation iPods, so I'm not really sure of the sound. And for those of you that don't know, I don't really cover much Apple products, but looking at the battery life, they say that you can listen to music for about 4.5 hours on one single charge. But if you charge it for 5 minutes, you'll have an hour of listening to music. But if you have a case, you can listen to music for about 24 hours because it has a wireless charger on the case, which you can charge it if you have a Galaxy S. If you have a Galaxy phone and you have wireless charging, or any smartphone that has wireless charging or reverse wireless charging on the platform, then you can charge it. Or you just have to get a wireless charger and plug it into a socket board, and you're good to go. Now, and I've touted the price at the beginning of this conversation. You're looking at a price of about $249 in US. But as a South African, you're asking yourself, how much is that in rand? So that's about 3,486 rand or 3,735 rand, depending of the exchange rate. This is not including tax, shipping and handling. So if you want these AirPods earlier and you don't want to wait like we have to wait here in South Africa a couple of weeks before it gets here, so that's the kind of prices you might pay. You might pay more because also shipping and handling needs to be considered, and that can only be considered based on where you're shipping it from and who's shipping it and custom duties in South Africa. Now moving over to the second story is the Samsung Galaxy S11 design has been finalized. Now there's a lot of excitement around the Samsung Galaxy S11 right now, because around about this time Samsung really finalizes everything in terms of design, in terms of specifications. So we're going to be able to find or look at leaks that tell us what the device is going to look like in the next coming few days or weeks, when the leaks finally get confirmed. But right now what we can see is that this smartphone is going to have a periscope zoom, up to 5 times optical zoom, which is Samsung is not really a big zoom company, but if they can add it in the Samsung Galaxy S11, pretty nice. And 2020 is the year for me. I feel like it's a statement year. If you do not put out the best specifications or the best smartphone in 2018, you might fall behind. Now also looking at the processor, now there's been a lot of talk that the Exynos 990 is not going to be the processor that's going to be in the main flagship device. But when you look at the specifications and what everybody's saying, they're saying that the 990 is the actual processor that you'll find in this upcoming smartphones, and the Note as well. because most of the leaks are saying that it might be the Exynos 9830 or the Snapdragon 865, which I'm not sure, because it's probably codename for the Exynos 990, as rumors say. And you get all the latest features, and I feel like in a flagship SoC it's really good, and I feel like, you know, they don't want to keep everything too revealing. They want to keep something as a surprise when the actual event comes out in 2020 between February. And also, you know that the display is going to bump up to a 20:9 aspect ratio, and is also supporting up to 120 Hz refresh rate display. It's supporting, it's not yet confirmed that it's 120 Hz refresh rate display. We might just get a 90 Hz refresh rate display, but it's really nice that this new chipset can actually support up to 120 Hz refresh rate, which is amazing, and I'm really excited for the Samsung Galaxy S11. Now, moving on to the next story, Xiaomi is set to release the first smartphone that has the biggest megapixels in a smartphone today. I have been talking about this camera setup in the Samsung Galaxy S11 leaks. If you haven't watched them, I'll put it in cards or in the description down below so you can watch them for yourself. Now, 108 is the megapixel sensor that Samsung has been working on for the longest time now. Now, these were all leaks and rumors before, but now Xiaomi is going to be the first company to release this camera, and I'm really excited. And it's not in their main smartphone, it's in their budget smartphone, which is going to be very affordable for all consumers, and you don't have to wait that long. It's coming on the 5th of November. Put a date. I've already followed Xiaomi on their social media platforms. I'm waiting to really talk about this camera. And looking at the specifications and the previous devices, Xiaomi also released the CC9 and the CC9E, which were mid-range smartphones in that category, but they didn't have this camera setup and camera body, so it's more of a camera centric smartphone, which is something that I really like, and it could really change the game for photography and videography in the next coming few months. And the leaks also say that it's also going to come with a 5x optical zoom, which is a periscope zoom camera. And you know, because the Oppo Reno has, you know, changed the game in terms of, you know, 10x optical zoom, so every other company now wants to get on that bandwagon and have as up to 5x, you know, optical zoom, so that they can really compete in the market. Now, looking at the processor, you're looking at a Snapdragon 730 chipset, which is a decent enough chipset for gaming, for multitasking. We won't run into a lot of problems. What we don't know is the RAM count, whether either it be 8 gigs of RAM or 6 gigs of RAM, because leaks and rumors state that right now budget smartphones cannot go over the 8 gigs of RAM threshold, and Samsung just created that technology not so long ago, so we wait to see if they're going to implement it in this device, but we're not really optimistic. Now, looking at the last news story, Huawei set to release the Nova 5T in South Africa. Now, this is a mid-range smartphone that has amazing specifications, and I wanted to do all the specifications, but I'm really excited for this smartphone to come out, even though I will talk about something a little bit later that concerns Huawei that's gonna help in, you know, easing consumer worries. Now, looking at a 32 megapixel front-facing camera with the AR sensors, so they're calling it Selfie Superstar. That's what they're calling it. I didn't write. Now, also with a quad camera setup at the back with an AI technology, I'm really can't wait to see and to test out how it actually works. Now, looking at a 48 megapixel super high resolution lens with a 16 megapixel ultra wide lens. I'm not sure if it's either the telephoto lens one or is it a depth sensor, I'll find out once the phone is launched. I would have checked on YouTube videos, but I wanted to wait until it's launched in South Africa to really do a dedicated video for that, so stay tuned for that one. So in the last news story today, Huawei received a lifeline all thanks to ARM's new research and findings. Spokesperson says, and I quote, ARM can provide support to high silicon for the ARM VA architecture as well as the next generation of architecture following a comprehensive review of both architectures, which have been determined to be of UK origin. So what does that mean for the regular people? It means that Huawei can continue to make processors, which means they can continue to make smartphones. They won't be affected by the US to China ban, because it was stated that if ARM pulls out, then Huawei could not make any smartphone because their Kirin chipset is powered by ARM's architecture and hardware. So now with this statement means that Huawei can continue making smartphones. Now the only problem that they have is that they won't have Google services or Android, or they'll have a cheaper version of Android. That's the only problem that can really give Huawei a little bit of a problem, but we'll see. Maybe people will move from Android and Google and find other alternatives. It remains to be seen what happens in the next coming few months or years. And I know this video is a bit late, it's a day late because I had a lot of stuff to do yesterday and I couldn't do the video, and it was super hot and you couldn't film in those kind of situations. Anyway, this has been an update of the latest tech news of this week. So if you have any comments, leave them in the comments down below and I'll sure to answer them in the next Tech Weekly. If you like this type of content, make sure to hit the subscribe button and bell notification to stay notified with the latest tech news on this channel. With that being said, I'm S11 Tech and I'll see you guys in the next one.